In the top stories, Minister Hamilton shows solidarity with the differently abled, Liat begins new flight schedule, and Moderna requests vaccine go-ahead after highly efficacious data. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today's Tuesday, the 1st of December. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, Minister of Social Services, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, has shown solidarity with differently abled persons in St. Kitts and Nevis as they prepare to celebrate the International Day of Persons with Disabilities on December 3. On Sunday, the minister joined with members of St. Kitts and Nevis Association of Persons with Disabilities as they worshipped and shared in the fellowship at the Antioch Baptist Church at Lime Keel. Minister Hamilton said that differently abled persons are human beings and encouraged individuals to focus on a person's spirit rather than their incapacity. He said he was proud to celebrate with the association and encouraged the differently abled to see yourself as wonderfully made, noting that they are fulfilling God's purpose for their lives. The theme for the International Day of Persons with Disabilities is Building Back Better towards a disability-inclusive, accessible and sustainable post-COVID-19 world. Minister Hamilton said the government is working to build things better, as the theme suggested. He referred to the ongoing construction of sidewalks along Wellington Road as one such example of building better, as it allows safe wheelchair access. The government has also installed a lift at government headquarters to allow the differently abled to access the second and third floors. A similar device was included in the designs for the new 3-story government printery currently under construction at Church Street. In other news, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris will update the people of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis on matters of national interest when he hosts his press conference this afternoon. Today's press conference takes place at 2 o'clock at the conference room at the National Emergency Management Agency, or NEMA, at Lime Keel. According to a statement out of government headquarters, Prime Minister Harris uses his regular press conferences to give citizens and residents an account of his government's leadership and management of the economy, particularly during these difficult times brought on by the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. The Prime Minister's press conference will be carried live on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM and other radio stations, as well as ZIZ TV Channel 5 and the Facebook and YouTube platforms of the St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service and ZIZ. It will also be streamed online at www.zizonline.com. And as we wrap up the national segment, discussions are underway for the development of a solar farm in St. Kitts as the government moves towards the use of renewable energy. This was announced by Minister of Public Infrastructure, the Honorable Sean Richards, who said he is in consultations with Executive Vice President of LaClanche Stationery Business Unit, Brian Urban.
LaClanche is actually partnering with the government and also with Skelec towards the development of a solar farm here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, more specifically in St. Kitts. We have been speaking about renewable energy, and to a large extent this particular project represents the first major thrust in terms of government in St. Kitts going towards renewable energy.
LaClanche is a Swiss battery maker that announced it would build the largest solar plus storage facility in the Caribbean in partnership with the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. Minister Richards noted that the electricity generated by the plant will meet between 25% and 30% of the nation's current power generation needs. Brian Urban has been quoted as saying the cost of this project to St. Kitts and Nevis is zero. We now move to news on the regional scene. Resumption of passenger flights by Antigua-based Liat is, as the Gaston Brown administration has proved to be the wind beneath the carrier's wings. The first flight in a new schedule took to the skies this week from Antigua to Barbados. ABS's Ragib Aparicio reports.
You are invited at this time to clear the immigration and security and await your further board announcement inside the departure area. Boarding of your service will commence momentarily at gate number 3. Thank you.
Regional airline Liat is now flying over.
The first commercial flight, however, would not take place until weeks later. That day was today.
Liat begins anew. The airline departs BC Bird International Airport today, November 30. On this, the first day of its 14-day new schedule set to end December 14th.
airline will take to the skies 6 times daily for the next 2 weeks, transiting passengers among Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada and Barbados. The majority of Liat's passengers Monday boarded at St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as well as Barbados as they traveled to their respective Caribbean destinations. The time, 8:55, and the iconic blue tail, Liat, the Caribbean airline, is once again soaring through the skies. The airline's return, however, comes at a cost. Staffing has been significantly reduced. Liat now employs an estimated 167 people, 12 of which are pilots, a stark contrast to the nearly 700 people it employed previously. Rakib Aparicio reporting for ABS News.
Still on the regional scene, the St. Lucia National Trust is facing a major budgetary shortfall due to the COVID-19 pandemic and will have to implement possible layoffs, spending cuts and salary reductions to stay afloat. According to Chair Allison King, the trust made some $197,000 from April to October, which is well short of what's needed to run the organization. And the situation has been compounded by the government's decision a few years ago to withdraw the conservation group's state-backed subvention. More in this HTS News report.
Health authorities and government officials have documented St. Lucia's quarantine capacity constraints. Returning nationals, illegal entrants, contact tracing occupants make up the bulk of individuals placed in state quarantine. On Friday, 27th November, 8 individuals were apprehended after allegedly attempting to gain illegal access into St. Lucia. A number of these individuals reportedly absconded from the facility. Now, Prime Minister Shastney says an alternative quarantine site specific to illegal entrance is under consideration.
We'll be improving the security. It should have been in place in the first instance, but I guess that they came in illegally. Maybe they were a bit more motivated, and we're going to have to review the decision that when persons are found illegally coming into our territories, whether in fact that they should be put into a public facility like they were.
In the absence of custody suites, it remains unclear where exactly these illegal entrants will be placed for their mandatory 14-day quarantine. On the weekend of November 27th to 30th, the island recorded a total of 11 cases. 2 of the patients were non-nationals visiting St. Lucia, and the other cases were St. Lucians ranging in ages 4 to 51 years. Another 2 cases were registered as of the evening of Monday, November 30th, with the patients hailing from Babono and Choiseul. There are hopes that COVID-19 wardens who began training on Monday can aid in the enforcement of protocols to help flatten the epidemic curve.
Getting in these wardens or COVID officers, very anxious to see that happen, because we're clearly seeing that enforcement is required. I mean, I have to say to you that I feel very sorry for businesses that are adhering to the new protocols and it has affected their business, and to see similar businesses in breach of those same protocols.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belmar-George warned of a possible 1,000 new cases in the next 2 weeks if the masses continue to skirt protocols. With the Christmas holiday season underway, Prime Minister Shastney acknowledged that time is of the essence in getting the COVID-19 situation under control.
We need another 2 weeks of hardcore reducing interaction by people in order to ensure that we have the virus under control. We do have Christmas coming in, and we know that solutions are going to want to socialize, particularly with families. And so we must make sure over the next 2 weeks that we do as good of a job as we can, and that all solutions are appreciating and understand the necessity, the requirement to continue to practice the protocols that are being suggested by the CMO's office.
On Friday, Command Center officials rolled out slight modifications to COVID-19 protocols, which will be in place from December 1st to 14th, 2020. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
Internationally, U.S. drug maker Moderna has applied for emergency clearance from the U.S. and European regulators for its vaccine. Moderna is just a week behind Pfizer, which applied for emergency approval on November 20. Moderna says its final trial results confirm it is more than 94% effective. The Trump administration said the distribution would begin shortly after the expected approvals of the Moderna and Pfizer shots. Al Jazeera's Gabriel Elizondo reports.
A second coronavirus vaccine now awaiting approval by U.S. regulators. Moderna announced its vaccine is ready, and if approved for emergency use, the company will start rolling out the first doses of the vaccine by late December.
We have worked very closely with Operation Warp Speed, and as we said, we should have up to 20 million doses by the end of the year. So as soon as we get approval, General Perna and his teams are going to get hold of a vaccine we have and start shipping it in the country. His goal is to vaccinate Americans within 24 hours from approval.
Moderna is a small pharmaceutical company based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, that has never successfully brought a vaccine to market. It got a big jump on its competitors because it started working aggressively on a COVID vaccine back in January, the very day China released the genetic data on the coronavirus. That early foresight is now paying off, the company saying it hopes to produce as many as 500 million COVID vaccine doses next year alone. Earlier this month, New York-based vaccine maker Pfizer and its German partner BioNTech announced its vaccine was also being submitted for approval and could roll out 50 million doses this year.
With Pfizer, we at the FDA announced an advisory committee for December the 10th, and if everything is on track, everything proves out what it appears to be, we could be looking at approval within days after that. Moderna is basically 1 week behind that.
Distribution of the vaccines could be a challenge that is fast approaching. The vaccines must be kept in cold temperatures at all times during transport and storage, or face the risk of spoiling and being ineffective. But it doesn't matter how many vaccines are available if people decide they don't want to take them. Here in the United States, one poll showed that nearly 40% of Americans said they have no plans to take the coronavirus vaccine. And within minority communities, particularly blacks and Latinos, the distrust runs even deeper, with the same poll showing that nearly half said, when it comes to the vaccine, no thanks. On Monday, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said more outreach needs to be done to build trust with minorities to take the vaccine.
Blacks died at twice the rate that whites died. Brown died at 1.5 times the rate that whites died. They are less served by the healthcare facilities. We need a special outreach effort. Federal government has provided no funding to do that.
But global health officials say it's a problem around the world.
We have seen around the world a growing hesitancy about vaccine in general and about a COVID vaccine in particular. At the same time, distrust is growing for other public health interventions.
While there is growing anticipation of the vaccine rollouts, health officials caution it will likely be several more months before distribution is ramped up to meet global demand, to truly have a chance to end the pandemic once and for all. Gabriel Elizondo, Al Jazeera, New York.
And now for the weather. Present weather shows partly cloudy skies with a gentle breeze of 8 miles per hour from the northeast. The temperature today is 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are moderate with waves not exceeding 1.5 meters or 5 feet. Expect partly sunny skies in general with a 10% or slight chance of a brief light shower for today. And tonight, fair to partly cloudy skies with a 40% or moderate chance of brief late night showers. Sunset today will be at 5:36 p.m., sunrise tomorrow at 6:25 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.